is bringing the principles of business and technology to supporting everyone together to ending the epidemic of homelessness. Like, we will always have people in our neighborhoods who need help, but we got way, way out of balance. So we don't do anything alone. Everything we do is in partnership. And we think a lot about amplifying and supporting your good work, not duplicating efforts. We work all over LA County. And as Ronson said, we have been actively working in Spot 8. We're going to be back in Redondo Beach, co-hosting a resource fair with Shared Bread next Wednesday, the 24th. If you've never seen one of our fairs, I really would love to have you come out with us and see what it's like. It's art, food, music, community connection, and this particular fair is focused on housing. So if you or anyone in your orbit is able to connect anyone of any demographic with housing, please check in with me and we'll make sure you can come work as well. But we also, in addition to the resource fairs, we work on a couple other things. We have a homelessness prevention program that is rental assistance for people facing eviction, and this could be either back rent or security deposit if their current landlord won't accept it. We have a grant for very low income people or zero interest loan, no credit check, no cosigner. We try to pay the landlord within 7 days. And yeah, happy to talk more about that, but that is live. You do not need a referral from anyone at thestepfund.org. Anyone can check eligibility, and we're about 3 years into that project as well. We're also doing some housing work. We have a real estate investment fund focused on building together net new, very affordable multifamily projects. And what else am I missing? Today, we're going to talk to you about our outreach app as well as our shelter directory. And then, so Michelle's going to Michelle, you'll introduce yourself, and then she's going to launch into those overviews. But the bulk of our time together is actually going to be us listening to you. So when we spoke with Ronson and Sarah the other day, we expressed how important feedback is. So I'll lead some questions, but it's really nice to build software, but it's way better to have software that works for what you need. So that's the lens that we're in today. We want you to see what we're working on, but we're building, everything we do is philanthropic, so it's free, open source software, and it's designed to support you, people in LA County, working to help our neighbors who are very vulnerable. So after Michelle introduces herself, then she'll show you some of the technology we're working on. And then the bulk of our time with you is going to be us asking you questions about specific areas around outreach or finding people shelter and getting to a place where we can get whatever level of candid feedback that you're willing to share, and specifically really, really wanting to understand pain points that we could potentially help solve with you. So that's a very lot of yada yada. Please, in the chat, pull my information, save it somewhere, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm delighted to be in community with you.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and I am Michelle. I work also at Better Angel, specifically leading the technology efforts. My background has been pretty much exclusively in tech. I like to say I was in AI before AI was cool. Before this, I was in the AI division at Google, also working social impact related projects, but more in the medical AI technology, and found that I was a better fit for more nonprofit related efforts. So since then, I've been leading technology development in various forms of technology, or sorry, nonprofit related tech. First, actually started in museums. If anyone's an art lover, and do reach out for that. That's a much longer story, more than even the 2 hours. So we can chat separately. I send my contact info. So today I'm going to walk you through some of the technology solutions that Better Angels has developed over the past couple of years, with really the eye of understanding, does this kind of technology fit your needs? Does this represent your daily challenges? We have interviewed hundreds of different case managers, as well as people on the housing navigation side, pretty much on the end-to-end journey. And our goal with all of this technology is to enable real-time impact, rather than wait for all of the delays between different coordination efforts, different organizations, as well as different volunteer initiatives. We want to build technology that allows for that cross communication and then makes it easier to know at the end of the day what to do given an individual circumstance. Ronson and I were already brainstorming, once we have enough data from which actions work, how can we recommend those to people, things like that. So I'm going to walk you through 2 different technology efforts that we've already had way underway. Stop me at any time if you have questions. But the main two efforts we're working on first relate to how do we make the lives of outreach workers easier? Everyone we've interviewed has said pretty consistently the more time they have to spend with clients as opposed to with paperwork, as opposed to figuring out where to locate that client means more power to any of their hours or the dollars spent on those organizations. And likewise, we've seen on the shelter side, if there's a better understanding of what resources are available, what the pain points are along that shelter placement process, then we can go so much further with the amount that we're allocated towards those kinds of efforts. So I'll first start with the outreach app, but I want to just center a couple of different types of principles we have around these technologies. Though one is this is free. So this makes us very different from a lot of the solutions that you're using. We're really, like Bill was saying, trying to supercharge all of our partners. And so that was built with the intention of making it easy and also cost effective for you to use. And then the second is that we have a very user-focused design. So rather than using spreadsheets and trying to figure out how do we get tables to look great for the ultimate end user of reporting, we really want to make these technologies useful for your case managers. So all of the design work done here has been done with those principles in mind. So with that, let me first walk you through what we call the outreach app. So I am, by the way, you see all these tech code numbers just because I'm doing this on a sandbox environment, which means we don't have any real client data here since we respect privacy of our clients and everything that we store is HIPAA compliant. So in the outreach app, the goal is how do we make it easier for outreach case managers to be able to identify what their clients need, be able to pass that information along to relevant parties, and ultimately be able to put them through that housing navigation funnel and get people that they meet on the streets wherever they would like. So the way that case managers in your organization would use this is on any given outreach round, we've noticed it's very difficult, obviously, to bring your computer to have internet. So everything is mobile first. You're able to see all the clients that are not just within your organization, but across other organizations in case you may cross communicate. And while this is similar to HMIS in some ways with all the HUD required elements, we've made it such that first you can really quickly at a glance be able to see, is this the same person that someone else has spoken to, or is this a new client? Bronson and I have spoken about how difficult it is to deduplicate, for example, but having information such as their profile picture, as well as their HMIS ID, and any important notes and information, such as physical description or what their living situation is when they were first identified as homeless, makes it easy to at a glance decide, yes, this is a person I want to continue recording data for on this profile, as opposed to somewhere else. Beyond that, we also have any information to follow up, such as how do we contact them? Or for example, what is their case manager's information so that I can quickly click on this and be able to follow through with them at a much easier place to reach than a desktop HMIS version, for example. From there, you're also able to see much more full information if you want. If, for example, you want to see, do they have any contacts that we might be able to reach out? Or is there an organization that is they're affiliated with? Household information is also important for housing placements, the applications, et cetera. So all that information can be easily stored on this mobile interface. We also want to make it as easy as possible to record any data that you have on these day-to-day interactions. So you're able to pretty quickly just tap and then automatically populate the location, add any information such as why you may have met them, for example, just outreach round. Oh, I'm not typing correctly. And then from there, also fill in, for example, the time that you've met them, and that should auto-populate as well. The location is filled based on your location. So we are ideally shooting for just about 5 seconds for any given interaction. We know that typically the provided services that are counted, for example, for funding. So being able to click those easily, as well as the total amount of requested services is all laid out here. That's the quick version to do it, but we also have a lot more. Sorry. We also have a lot of other pieces around how do you coordinate with other organizations? For example, I want to see, has anyone spoken to this person? Oh, actually, they were asking, can you deliver them a water bottle? We want to be able to cross communicate with different individuals within an organization as well as across organizations to allow for follow through. Another major request we've seen is to be able to see documents. What is the status of their ID? What is the status of their housing application? So having a very quick way, as easy as my generation loves Instagram, to just be able to upload and then to see that for future users or just for future reference. You just can click and then be able to upload either through your camera or any other way that you might with a message. And then finally, we've noticed it's difficult to track down people since they move around a lot, unfortunately, due to sweeps or for other reasons. So we've built it such that I used to work on Google Maps also before I switched to the AI department. It's easy to be able to see, okay, they typically tend to be around this location. Let me see, in this case, when was the last time they were here? It was at this specific cross streets. This was in August. Perhaps we want to find something more recent. And so you can even see, for example, the last seen place that they were, and increases the likelihood that you might be able to find them. And the last piece, you're probably wondering, how does this interact with HMIS as well? For a lot of folks, a lot of these entry pieces might be better on mobile, but because of the HMIS requirements still need to be done on desktop. We have done a full experiment of seeing, do these data fields easily upload into HMIS? Is it possible? And the technical question is yes. Engineering wise, we have built out the demos to prove that that's the case. However, there's a matter of policy and figuring out the right relationships to make that happen. So it's not actually in production yet, but it's going to be a people conversation more than an engineering. Before I go on, are there any questions?
Now, I just want to add that for the COG, we're looking at this because we have that issue of like we don't have a really good way of our case managers like entering data in the way that we need, especially for our functional zero programs. Some of the issues that we've had with HMIS in the past was that we wouldn't be able to readily like query for people's like city of origin, for example. That was always like a headache. And what I really like about this new program that Michelle and Better Angels have created is that it's a little bit flexible. So how I see it is that this is like an app that can sit on top of HMIS. And now that they have the HMIS integration feature, I'd love to pilot it in our functional zero cities and maybe in some of our Measure A contracts on our some of our case management teams so that we can try it out and see if it's a better way of record keeping. And because what we're finding is that sometimes our case managers are entering stuff into like multiple different places. And like this could maybe help streamline that, where you're entering it here and it automatically feeds information into HMIS. So that's something that we're looking into. Any other
Any
question?
questions? Yeah.
Yeah.
One other part I would like to add is that it makes it easier also for some of the text communication spreadsheets to be able to visualize this data. So we've already built this out for an organization called SELA, if you're familiar, where they're able to, based on all those interactions done by the volunteers, then have a dashboard to be able to pretty quickly analyze how much volume did they have in terms of the number of interactions that were had or the clients, as well as quick data points like what do people request for the most and over what time. You're able to also take this out as CSVs to manipulate it as we want. And there's flexibility, as Ronson said, to be able to add the visualizations. But the idea is that we want to eliminate any of that burden of trying to figure out how to represent that data, how to continually generate reports by making that dashboarding easy as well.
Well, I'd love to start just kind of talking about pain points if there aren't any immediate questions, because pain is always something that comes up together. So, Michelle, with your permission, maybe we could talk
Mhm.
about pain around
Yeah.
outreach. And then, Ronson, can you tell me if my volume is better now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Great. Sorry, I have a microphone and I had neglected to plug it in. So sorry about that. So let's talk about pain points as it relates to outreach and specifically what you wish, what has happened in the past that's made the work harder and what you wish could be true. And this is kind of an open session, hopefully not just complaining, but the way we use this kind of a conversation is to really look at what we're doing in the technology and incorporate your feedback. So as we go, let's just take it from the starting point. What kind, and feel free if you don't feel like answering live here, you can type in the chat if that's more comfortable for you, or if you would like to answer live and you just want to raise your hand, then we can call one at a time. And Ronson, can you help me watch the time on this part of the conversation?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So when you think about first encountering someone, either someone new or someone you've seen before, what has come up with either what you're doing that's difficult and or how you're trying to record information?
I think I can start too. We have a few case managers on. I see Lila on. Ramon has lots of case management experience and is very familiar with the systems. Um, let's see, we have the Torrance team on. So if you guys have any like ideas or suggestions about like data keeping, now's the time to bring it up. But I'd say like one of the things that we learned in Functional Zero is that case managers weren't very good at recording, and this was true with Lila. And you know, like we she wasn't very good at recording like same day resolutions. And what that is that Lila was really good at like meeting with someone and really getting down to like, okay, you really just need a bus ticket because you really want to go back to, you know, your mom's house in, you know, Palm Springs or something like that. And so we would buy her a bus ticket and she would go. But that because that interaction never landed on her caseload, so to speak, that interaction never got recorded as a resolution. So we actually held someone that day, but it never got recorded because it happened so quickly. And so those are what we call in functional zero, 0 day resolutions. So all the zero duration days, we met someone, we resolved their homelessness, we're not being recorded by the system, by HMIS or anything like that. And so we have a different process to record that. So that's definitely a pain point, is that real time recording of that resolution.
Yeah, that's a really good point. One thing we saw in one of our shadowing days is that we were with a group from the People Concern, and one of their most productive teammates was not recording. His system was that he carried a legal pad. And so he would kind of bounce out of his car and like kind of talk to people or, go up to a tent or whatever. And like he had a legal pad where he would take notes, but he was only recording interactions that required a follow-up. So it looked like a fifth of his time was productive from a data standpoint because the burden of recording the interaction was so high that he was just like, hey, I got to help people. Let me only record the people I'm actually working with. I would love to hear from anyone who's doing this kind of work if that's coming up at all in the current system.
I think you're muted, Lila. Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I'm having
Yes.
difficulty with my
Is that better?
laptop. This is Dulce from the city of Hawthorne. We are running into the street outreach team in the city of Hawthorne. We are being able to capture the services for first encounters now because they have full access to the HMI system. So they are able to capture enrollment of a client, services, location, contact information. So I'm very pleased and happy about that. We've definitely come a long way when with that aspect of having access to HMIS. But what we're encountering is when we're submitting referrals, the interim housing referrals, um, what we're encountering is for those people that actually want I think Ronson mentioned it earlier, like a bus ticket to go to where they were actually from. If we have to submit a problem-solving request, it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks for that even to be processed. And so we missed that opportunity to provide immediate services to someone that's wanting to get to a medical appointment, or to get to a family that we are able to touch base with, and they're saying, yes, we want them back home, but they're in, like today, perfect example today. We had a client that was from the Antelope Valley. How she ended up in front of our office, have no idea. But she had luggages, so we were attempting to place her. She was ready to go, but unfortunately, we just don't have the bus tickets available for her. she doesn't she has to take public transportation. So we're running into those issues. Some of these clients really want to just get on the bus and head over to a different location that we could actually place them in, but we just can't because the team is already occupied transporting other clients. So when we could have bus tickets or bus availability for that, or even an Uber, like we want to make sure that we get them to the location where they're trying to get, but sometimes we run into issues with that.
I guess Alyssa brings up a good point too though, because like like one of the things is that the ideal situation is we can just use the Better Angels app and not have to have both HMIS and Better Angels. But if in those instances where the case manager does need to make a request for problem solving through an HMIS or maybe enroll someone into the shelter match waitlist, is that possible through the app, or do they then at that point have to then go into HMIS and do it through there?
I love this question and I'm going to answer it very carefully. So the answer is yes, it's possible. The longer answer is we have a technology team volunteering with us out of a strategy consulting firm right now, building the referral feature. And that feature is we're actually designing first for interim housing. So anytime you're referring anything, it's basically a request, right? If you think of it like a service ticket, if I'm sure most of us have had to put in a maintenance request or something like that. It's like, hey, help me,
Mhm.
right? And so we do have a group actively building that feature for slightly different purpose for the shelter, but in the same way that a ticket could be for anything, like, yes, we could do this, right? We do not, to my knowledge, have an active workflow set up yet. But as Michelle showed us, and Michelle, you can feel free to show the screen again if you want to, the the client request piece of the app shows it right there. So we could pull up, oh, client request bus ticket, and that could trigger even something as simple as an email to the right person sitting at a desk, right? Like that could be an interim workflow while we build out the tech piece of it. And Michelle, I'll let you answer that in case I said something that was too optimistic or not correct.
No, I think that's right. I think you can wire it up at least on the technical side into HMIS where it needs to go. It's just the question first about getting the right people to grant the access, but also if that's the right place. Like even if you get it through HMIS and you still are waiting for 2 to 3 weeks, then as Alyssa says, that it's actually probably more efficient to use that to trigger another workflow alongside. They don't have to be in competition, but it might allow for more coverage. Right now, that to do just stays within the app, but there's no reason that Alyssa, like as Alyssa's saying, it can't extend elsewhere.
Norma brought up a good. Norma, do you want to elaborate on that? Like, what about the mobile version of HMIS is like difficult for you?
No, I'm just saying, well, for me, I've used it more of like I go on online and then log in and just through the web browser. That's what when I can in the field. But usually if I'm in the field with something, I feel like I just use my notes app and gather all I can,
Hmm.
all the information that I can, and then transfer that information um later on when I have the chance. Because if there's a lot going on with someone, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in that moment we want to focus on the individual and not just fully be on the phone. We try our best, especially if it's like two of us together and we can like work together and one handles more of the data, the other person more of the one-on-one support, then yeah, that makes sense. But let's say if someone doesn't have a partner, that's where
Right.
things also like, kind of have to be put a little bit behind and people have to catch up later on because of that reason.
Yeah. What if there was like, what if like, okay, one, I guess like if you had like an app like the Better Angels app that had like a notes like function, that would be useful, right? Or maybe even like a translation thing, right? Where like you're just pressing record and then it just transcribes. And so when the person's talking about their birthday, it maybe will just enter their birthday into the field.
And
Um,
that reminds me of like Kaiser. Like if you guys have Kaiser, like a lot of times now they ask, "Oh, is it okay if this is recorded?" And then they kind of take their notes from that, and then the conversation after is deleted from the application. I'm not sure which one they use, but Ronson, you bring up a good point that that might also be something that is beneficial.
Yeah, because then you're not there typing.
Yeah, that's an idea we explored. We prototyped
Mhm.
what we called walk to car feature, where basically on the walk from wherever you're meeting someone to the car, you could talk to your phone and then it would structure that data for you. Because we got some feedback that a live recording doesn't feel comfortable. You don't, the person doesn't want it. It makes sense that they don't feel comfortable with you transcribing. But if you, instead of writing down notes, you're able to walk and then say the note and then that populates the app, that might be a solution. We've also gotten some feedback that it's still there's just you're going from place to place. You still might not have time even in the car to make that voice note. So we're exploring and would love your feedback.
Yeah, for sure. I want to come back to something else that's coming up a little bit, but how when you're out and you're talking to people in our app, you don't have to put a lot of information. Like you can start a record with like someone's name and contact. You don't have to fill out every single thing and then you can come back later and do it or the next time you meet them. I'm curious what the process now for deduplication or trying to figure out if someone is already in the system, like what are some of the challenges or pain points around that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I know it's hard finding even just the right record, right? Like there's sometimes a lot of duplications and people's aliases. Anyone have any feedback on that?
Well, usually this is Dulce again from Hawthorne, when I run into duplicate or when my team runs into duplicate clients with different HMIS numbers, but we definitely know that it's the same person, we just submit a ticket to the Clarity system, letting them know that it's a duplication of client, and we let them know which HMIS we would like to keep. But one of the biggest barriers that I think that my team has definitely brought up to me is that when we're entering a node into HMIS, it starts with the oldest node instead of letting us see the most current node
Mm.
from any case manager. That is so just doesn't make sense to me because they're having to scroll down on the notes all the way at the bottom to see the most current notes instead of it being at the top. And that also another problem is when we're uploading documents. This is a huge problem as well, that we always see the oldest document instead of seeing the most current document uploaded. Our clients are very nomadic. So if a client is working, with whatever other agency and they just uploaded the California ID, but when we look it up, it's all the way at the bottom. So I think we should be able to, the teams, especially street outreach folks, need to be able to access those documents right away, the most current one, so we don't duplicate the efforts out in the field or in the office. We don't have to duplicate and upload the California ID 3 to 4 times from different agencies when it's already in the system. So those are the two things that I would like to see change, hopefully in the HMIS system, to where we get current notes instead of old notes first, and then current files instead of all the old files first.
Great feedback, Dulce. Alyssa, we probably only have time for one more, if there is one more.
Okay. Yeah, let's ask one more question and then and I will say, and Michelle, maybe you can do some follow-up on how the integration of the HMIS would work kind of separately. But we'd also like to share the shelter directory with you all, and then we can kind of get some light feedback there. So when you're thinking about moving people through the process, so whether that's helping them to get documents or getting into shelter or other things, what's coming up? I really appreciate this pain point of the old notes, the old documents. What else is coming up consistently as something that's just hard or that you're resorting to offline paper, your notes, like trying to cobble it together to move someone through their journey?
Hi everyone, this is Lila from Redondo Beach. Um, the the issue I have personally is, we're on the street. So when someone needs help, it could be our first engagement. Um, I'm at fault for this because I don't have time to look in HMIS. I work alone, so I have to pull over, try to look them up. If they want help, and they want to move off the street, or like Ronson was saying, just go back home, all that is done immediately. Because if I have to wait, or if I'm taking too long, the client more than likely will back out. Or if I'm on my phone too long, they get a little paranoid. Like, what are you doing on the phone? Who are you calling? Why is my information in the system? So a lot of those situations are the ones that I come across because I focus on street homelessness. And, we don't have that many people in Redondo like other cities. So I try to move them as quick as I can. And most of the time, they're not even in the system, because they had just showed up from out of state. And honestly, I'll have to enroll them in my program, get all their information just to exit them out, which I don't do. It just takes too long
Well, that's
because
really,
they're already gone.
yeah, that's really a golden comment. So thank you for jumping in and saying this. I think this is part of what we saw even when we did some of the ride-alongs, and Michelle and her team did more than I did. But that makes your amazing work invisible. And it also makes the need invisible, right? This is an amazing need moving so quickly to help somebody through their journey that you can't even get them in and out of the system. That looks like magic to everybody else, right? So I think the speed there is amazing, and I really appreciate the time each of you have taken to share this with us. Like, it's being in the problem solving mode in the car alone, and we do this work too. So I hope you all come out and work with us at Resource Days, come visit and see what we're up to. But I'm with you. Like, I joke, I spend half of my life in a Dirty Men's t-shirt. Like, I'm sweating out there with you. So I really feel the pain, and we do. I think in the beach cities, and definitely in Spot 8 around LAX, we have a lot of travelers. And this is something I'm sure the South Bay COG has come up with before, but one of the themes I'm picking up today, Ronson, that I hope we really capture is that the need of someone who's been chronically homeless in the beach in the South Bay is different from somebody who's landing from somewhere else. So maybe we think even about a separate workflow that's a little bit more focused on a traveler, Michelle, where we have sort of as a designation when we drop into the app. Okay, so let's take, with your permission, if we can, 3 to 4 minutes, Michelle, to share the shelter directory. Ronson, can
Okay.
you find
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
3 to 4 minutes?
Mhm.
And then we'll just get some initial feedback. The shelter directory is less mature, and I'll let Michelle talk through sort of where we are with both the technology, and also any good directory has good information. So what we need help with and how we're getting forward. But I'll turn it back over to you, Michelle.
Great. So I'm just presenting it on desktop with a mobile view, but you can use this on mobile and desktop. It is optimized for desktop since we have heard people are moving around as they're looking for different resources. So the goal of the directory is really to make any case manager a superpower case manager, because they have access to resources that case managers who have been in the field for a long time or who have personal relationships with shelter have a centralized source of information at the tip of their fingers. So this link is live. I can send it in the chat. But with this, you're able to see, for example, if we're in a certain area, what shelters might be available that might have the right type of attributes that a given client you're working for needs. For example, you can see which ones are specific access centers as opposed to single women, seniors, since they're going to be different types of shelters that have entry requirements built on these demographics. And then from there, you're also able to see more information about these given shelters. We've heard it's difficult to send folks to a shelter without having seen any pictures, and Google Maps has a very skewed view because reviews are their own journey, I will say. And so you're able to click into some of these individual shelters. This one just has one photo now, but I can show you ones that have more, and then have pretty critical information right away, such as when are they open? And there are other examples I can pull up that also say intake hours as opposed to entry hours so that you can sort by that. and have some of this information so you can contact them easily, as well as give your client information of the services they might expect. So say that they need a shower and that case management, for example, is a non-negotiable. So having these different attributes here makes it easy for you to be able to communicate that. Other really important fields, such as what are the entry requirements, or for example, is there a curfew, smoking allowed, pets we've heard is a really big one, are all on these detailed pages. And then finally, just quickly, we make it easy for you to be able to just submit any feedback so that we can make comb that into our ecosystem of data. There are longer term visions about how do we incorporate that feedback more live, or if you're an owner of a shelter, you can do it yourself. But the idea is sort of like Google Maps to be able to have a lot of that user generated content, keep it fresh, keep it live, and address any of the questions you might have. I'll stop there just since I know we're short on time. Alyssa, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, Michelle, I do want to, if you can pull up your screen one
Yeah.
more time. There is a really, so two things you'll see when you, and I dropped the link in the chat. It's optimized for mobile, but available right now for anybody on any web browser. And you'll see as you click around that there'll be shelters that you know about that aren't there, or like this one Michelle just clicked into, didn't have all the pictures. So if you scroll down to the bottom,
And this one?
yeah, and you see there's a
Sure.
link we put in there that says report and update. So this is really designed, if you click in there, you'll see that it opens a Google form, and in the category of it's just us, y'all. Like if it's wrong, just tell us. Tell us who you are. You can scroll down here and you can just say you want to report an update and then just tell us what it is. We are working really diligently with leadership around the LA County to make sure it's up to date. But there's ways that leadership can claim their own shelters. But if you know something is wrong, just tell us. We don't want wrong information there either. So look, we already have a question. Thank you, Michelle. Is this being updated, Janet? It says, is this being updated based off the new HSH department and centralization of interim housing that will look differently by region? Ooh, I love this question. The answer is that this is a public resource, and we're working very intentionally with everyone in LA County. So our amazing director of partnerships, who some of you may know, Elizabeth Burks, I am forever in awe of her because she's so wonderful at her job, is in close communication with many, many leaders at HSH and different things. So we, as I said, are philanthropic. We function as to amplify and support. And our goal is to be integrated within everything. So that's a very long way of saying, stay tuned. I'm sorry if that's too vague. Grace, go ahead.
I have a few questions. I have two questions, but I forgot what the second one was, but I remember the first one. So, my question is really around your shelter app in terms of data collection, because one of the challenges I see overall is when we're advocating for our needs, we're looking at this is like a big picture thing. We're looking at how many beds do we have? How many people are we counting that have been housed, or how many have been on the queue? But we never really know what that inflow is, meaning how many people are being referred over from this site to these shelters. And that, I think some of the other challenges just to think about is, Spa 8 South Bay has a very high utilization rate in shelters, which means we're pretty close to capacity. So when someone's experiencing homelessness, where are they going to be referred to? And, is there a way to partner with you to collect data? I'm always thinking about data and numbers. But that's just something that's sitting in my head right now. And then the other question, I don't know, I'll just reach out. I can't seem to remember what the second question was.
Well,
Comment.
I love that question, and I'm going to answer it, and then I'm going to let Michelle answer it because she might have a totally different answer. You may come join my choir of if we don't have data, then people believe there isn't a problem. That's a personal choir that I run independently of Better Angels. But I will, I'm joking a little bit, but part of the work being visible is like how many people in, Torrance requested shelter today? And the answer is we don't know because we kind of don't allow anywhere for people to ask for shelter, and then we're not counting, right? So Is there a way today for anyone in any neighborhood to ask for shelter? No, there is not. And then, if we pull that thread, well, how do we capture the request for shelter? Even just starting with case managers or outreach workers having access to an app, if we're able to work together with the South Bay COG and everybody has access to the outreach app, then every time an outreach worker, case manager, or somebody answering the phone gets a request for shelter, you could click a button and then we could have a daily census of how many people asked for shelter. So part of and then likewise, I think I mentioned back to the outreach piece of this, like in responding a little bit to your request, Morali, here too, like it's frustrating to submit a request for something and then get no update, right? Particularly when in most of the rest of our lives, there's a culture of responsiveness. I had a appointment today for internet. I got 5 texts and 2 phone calls reporting back to me on this is happening and this is the date and here's the confirmation, right? There's a lot in the culture. There's a lot of feedback when we ask for something, but in this space, there isn't. So answering your question in a circular way, it's not hard from a data standpoint to have a button that says request and then on the backside to report, whether that's requesting shelter or a referral. And I think that was a little bit circuitous, but I think I'm also, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think I'm picking up on a little bit of frustration that we don't know, we're not getting feedback enough even to build the report. Is that some of what you're saying?
If
Yeah,
I
yeah, sorry.
go ahead, Grace, are you gonna?
Oh no, I'm good. Yeah, I was just gonna say yes.
No, just from our experience in Hawthorne, and I know other outreach teams in other areas experience similar situations. We are able to submit interim housing referrals through the HMIS system, and we are able to pull up a report actually of how many referrals we've submitted. But the problem that I think we're facing as case managers and our outreach team is that we don't know if the referral has been acknowledged. We don't know where our clients are in the queue for placement because as you know, we have a situation that there's no bed availability, but it would be nice to get feedback to find out from all the 30 referrals that we submitted through the system where they are on the queue to be placed, or have they even been looked at, because we're constantly having to check our clients in through the system by clicking the check-in button, check-in. So we're doing this every day. Some of our clients come in every day to check in. So we're constantly having to click the check-in, click the check-in. And that's a lot of work, which we're not complaining, but it would be nice for us to get feedback on, okay, we've clicked this client 10 times in the month of June, but still we don't know where that client is on the queue to be placed.
Yeah. And I want to be careful here because we are not administering HMIS. So I want to be careful not to make promises that we can't keep. But we are taking notes and I'm recording that. We also have, and we don't have enough time today to talk about, but we have some ideas around a queue of people who are ready and willing to go into shelter and help actually working with our partners who are running interim housing to have them be able to sort of pick up someone from a queue that would be a good fit for their program. And we're very excited about that because the data consistently show that even shelters that are high utilization are really running annually or monthly at about a 75 to 80% utilization. So there are empty beds for various reasons. And some of that might be as simple as mattress don't work on the weekends, right? So without derailing the conversation, I want to come back, Michelle, and let you answer the question. And then Ronson, I want to be careful with our time here if you could help us manage.
Yeah, maybe just like a minute and then we'll have to wrap it up.
Yeah, just very quick answer to your question, Grace. The way it could be done now is that in that task form that I showed you, you could create a task. Someone asked for a service for a shelter referral, and then it's marked as to do, and then you mark it as complete. And we have records of who did those. So that would be the very simple way to do it as is. And then there's more we could build on top of if we needed to track more data. But we should be able to understand where are these requests and add any notes and then build upon that. So it is possible.
Yeah.
Great.
But thank you all for your time and for sharing your insights. It's so valuable.
It really is very valuable. You can't imagine how valuable this is. So thank you. I do want to just quickly answer to you, Janet. I think your question is around centralization. Reading it for those of you who are on phone and can't see, it would be good to know what housing locations are part of centralization or not. I think you're talking about whether locations accept walk-ins or non-LAWSA matching referrals. So on the shelter directory, and I don't know, Michelle, if you still have it pulled up, but on the homepage of the shelter directory, there's a filter there. And you can see, you know, we're continuing to fill out this, but you can see which shelters will accept, or interim housing or what have you, will accept a self-referral or a service provider. Non-match refers to non-LAWSA. So we definitely have gotten that feedback that that's really important too. And we're working toward, you know, again, this for the shelter directory, you know, you're the first user, like you're out there, you're talking to people. Like if we can help this be a tool that you can use right away, that's a huge win because you're already doing this work without it.
Great. Well, thank you both, Alyssa and Michelle, for joining us and giving us an update on all the cool things going on at Better Angels. Really appreciate it. And we'll keep in touch and you know, next time you guys have other updates, we'll make sure to bring you guys back. All right.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Great. Well, just moving on, Grace, I know we skipped you, but I wanted to, if it's okay with you, we can do Julie first and then come back to you.
Yeah.
That'd be okay? Okay, great.
Sorry.
Great, because I know we told Julie like she'd be on around 3:50, so I just want to be respectful of that time. I'm really excited to introduce everyone to Julie for the very first time. I've been working with Julie for, gosh, it's about like a year or two now. It's all happened so fast, but we've been working for a while to get La Casa up and running. You know, I joke with her that she is now the goddess of prevention here in LA County. But she is a very important person, so I wanted to introduce the task force to her. As you know, because of Measure A, prevention is now sort of shoehorned into La Casa. And Julie is the Chief Program Officer of La Casa Prevention Programs. And I wanted to bring her here to introduce herself to everyone and then also tell us about some of the exciting things that La Casa is doing in the next 6 months on the renter protection side. So Julie, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Ronson. Believe it or not, it's only been a year. All
Okay.
that we packed in just a year.
Yeah.
Comment about being the goddess of RPHP led us down a path of creating several very hilarious AI-generated models of our RPHP team. Are not appropriate to share here because apparently goddesses are always very buxom. But thank you very, very much for having me. It's great to meet everybody. Is it okay if I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes.
Let me find this. Okay, we're going to go take you all the way to the beginning here. Is that okay?
Yep, that works.
Okay. So yeah, I appreciate being invited. Our program associate Taryn Bunch is also on here with us today. We wanted to talk with you a little bit about the past year, the funding landscape, how we're moving into this new coordinated model, integrated model called RentRaid, and just basically share some basics, talk a little bit about our countywide relationships and partnerships, and just be out in the public and see if you have any questions. So high level for La Casa funding, we receive about $382 million for the overall Measure A allocation. And as many of you probably know, that's divided among the way we are organized is that's divided among La Casa agency funds and then 13 eligible jurisdictions. And then further from that, that's broken down into other required uses. So the production, preservation, and ownership is about 40% of the La Casa funds. Well, starting big picture, La Casa gets about 35% of Measure A funds, and the rest goes to the LA County allocation. And then further breaking that down, PPO is 46% of La Casa's funds. PPO Flex is 13.6. Renter protection is 30%, and technical assistance is 5%. And then we have 5% agency admin. So what does that mean for renter protection and homelessness prevention? That means approximately $114 million annually. And that's split again, 30% for La Casa and 70% among the eligible jurisdictions. So that's about 32 million annually that La Casa administers and about 82 million administered by the eligible jurisdictions. And we'll get into renter aid and how that's shifting the game a little bit there. But where we're aiming for our PHP is the adopted measure aid goals. And if you're familiar with the goals that ECRA adopted and the board of directors for La Casa adopted, we're primarily pointed toward goal 4, which is the prevention goal. And that's to reduce homelessness by 25%, reduce newly homeless by 20%, increase prevention, so increase the successful impact of eviction prevention and homelessness prevention services, and increase access to legal services. So to be clear, 4A was adopted by ECRA, and then 4B and 4C are adopted by La Casa Board of Directors, really embracing this dual mandate of homelessness prevention as well as anti-displacement and eviction defense. So the eligible uses of our funding, and this is laid out within our program guidelines, emergency rental and flexible financial assistance that provides financial assistance for a variety of housing related needs. All of our PHP is intended to really focus on short-term interventions that can help people get past housing crises. We've got a couple exceptions to that for within here. So temporary rental assistance, we cannot provide rental assistance for more than 6 months by statute. When we did our eligible uses, we know that there's some need out there, whether it's step down housing from AHV or leaving time limited subsidy. We wanted to make something available that looked like rental assistance or like a subsidy, but matched with our 6-month limitation. So this is our creative temporary rental assistance bucket. Short-term income support, this is providing financial assistance on directly to households. And that can be a longer runway. So that can look more like a transfer that looks like a shallow subsidy or something like that. We don't have a lot of EJs experimenting with that because of the direct to household funding element of it. EJs so far are much more comfortable with paying vendors or third-party vendors. So I anticipate some future TA and work around that and rent aid. In our infrastructure stand-up, we'll be looking at ways to support EJs who want to see that area grow. And then, of course, the legal services and renter education. So looking at last year, the way that La Casa funded using our agency dollars is we said, let's get these dollars out the door. We know we want to build toward a countywide program. We know we're going to do a planning process. So we funded very differently last year than we will moving forward. So last year we did a transfer of funds to LASA in order to save sort of some critical targeted homelessness prevention over the course of this year. We funded to legal services, and then we did an RFP to just rapidly deploy emergency rental and flexible financial assistance. And what we told these community-based agencies is that as long as you have a viable program that you've operated with fiscal accountability and you're following the program guidelines, we're not going to have a year of really close standardization or building toward this countywide program. We just want to see dollars out the door. So that was the agency funds last year. Those funds are still in action, extended for the LASA funds through December of this year. And then the 9 awardees for the emergency rental and flexible financial will go till June 30th of 2027, and they're still getting stood up in various places. But what you're seeing on this slide is how 25-26 the EJs budgeted their allocations. And this is just budget. This doesn't reflect actual spend or what ended up happening. But it was about 52%, and this does not include La Casa agency funds or the City of Los Angeles funds. When you get those two buckets in there, it just skews the whole thing. The local EJs are doing, I think, different types of funding than City of LA and us, because we get the two largest allocations. So emergency rental flexible financial was about 52% of the allocations, temporary rental assistance about 4%, short-term income support about 6%, and legal services about 27%. And you'll see South Bay here has a larger investment in legal. Okay. This year, moving forward, we did go through this extensive planning process, which included South Bay, Gateway, and Long Beach as very critical partners. I just want to give a huge shout out to Ronson and Kevin and your whole team. Every test, curiosity question that we've had, we pick up the phone and call Ronson or call Gateway or call Long Beach, and they each are approaching things slightly differently. So it's been a great collaboration with these three eligible jurisdictions who early on said, we want to commit something to renter aid. We want to go through this process of exploring with you. So the pilot program has been extremely helpful in the planning process. And then we had a much larger 6-month deep planning process to come up with the renter aid model. And where we ended was a countywide model, and La Casa's 26-27 investment, we will put our entire agency budget into building this countywide model. And I'll walk with you through the various investments, but our sort of promise and commitment here is that we will stand up the infrastructure, and then eligible jurisdictions can opt in. And what that will do is it reduce the administrative costs for eligible jurisdictions so that more of their dollars could be spent getting into the hands of people in need. So if eligible, we'll stand up the infrastructure countywide. We'll also provide services countywide as La Casa, and then we'll invite eligible jurisdictions to leave all or a portion of their funds with us, and we will in turn provide enhanced service levels in the jurisdiction. So the infrastructure that we're working on setting up right now is renter outreach, an online portal. So that would be, a renter aid portal where households could go and self-refer and apply for the service. On the back end of that portal, there's a prioritization process that happens. And the folks who are prioritized are then outreached by a triage team or housing stability linkage team, and then sort of triage to the service that they need. We have, because of our dual mandate, and I'll get to this on the next one. I'm going to keep this one simple, but the investments are really emergency rental, flexible financial assistance, legal services, investing in a central fiscal administration. We know that this piece of the puzzle is very hard, especially when you go into flexible financial assistance rather than strict emergency rental assistance. There's a lot of small checks. There's a lot of creativity involved. There's a lot of tracking. So really offering this service, and this has been popular both for jurisdictions as well as organizations. And then having shared data and reporting. And just a little preview, the online portal has a few components to it. There's the application piece, but it's looking like we're leaning toward HMIS as our system of record as well. We've gotten a lot of feedback that that's already what's in place and across the county. So we want to be good partners there and seem like that's the right choice. So again, the design of the program is that we have investment in renter outreach, and the outreach is a little bit of a combination of helping people make it to the right portal. So we actually have 2 portals here, which we're going to work over the course of this extended partnership to make two portals not confusing and as clear as possible for people and see how those can get integrated. But the renter aid portal really provides the ability to refer both to stay housed, but also to apply for financial assistance funds using the prioritization tool. And as I mentioned, they would be outreached. Go into the portal. They could also just self-refer into the portal. It'll be publicly accessible. And then prioritized clients would be contacted by a housing stability linkage team. The focus here is really to have targeted cash assistance in as rapid time as possible. Start with the lowest amount people need. There's no limits on when they could come back. But we're really trying to aim for this $5,000, $6,000 average per household, which so far we're seeing in our 9 awardees and the targeted homelessness prevention work and other EJs. So we're comfortable with that. We know that that's average. There's going to be different cases. Also linked to holistic legal services. So that's legal services that aren't eviction defense, more like immigration support or domestic violence support or benefits advocacy, things that can solve a financial crisis that isn't eviction defense. And then a limited amount of relocation and stabilization services provided for high needs households. And then you see on the right, the Stay Housed network is already very mature and countywide organized. So through the RFP process, we did end up selecting Stay Housed as our legal service eviction defense provider. So we can write on this chart now that portal will be part of our work together, and eviction defense services there. Everybody will have access to the central fiscal administrator. This is largely for the emergency rental side, but there are some, there's the ability for EJs and to choose to put legal settlement funds on the eviction defense side. So they would also be using the central fiscal administrator for that. And of course, rolling up into this integrated data and reporting. So the budget that we've allocated this year to all of this is about 1.8 million in all that it's taking to get this thing stood up. So the IT development, project management of this extensive launch, or this very comprehensive launch, and we'll go over the timeline later, and some of the grants management. So that's all sort of consulting services. Some would be ongoing. La Casa is not looking to build a huge governmental team within our agency. So we do rely on consulting and partnership. All of those services that I mentioned here are either consultant or contracted out. So we are contracting out the housing stability and linkage team, the stabilization and relocation, the central fiscal. We're not holding that staffing within our agency. The portal, including one-time and recurring costs, is about 600,000. The IRFA, this is 14.7, and that's inclusive of direct to household and some infrastructure costs required to get those funds into the hands of folks. Legal services and renter education at 10.6 million. Renter outreach at 2 million, housing stability linkage team at 2 million, stabilization and relocation at 2 million, and then the central fiscal administration at 1.4. And just as a reminder, this is our agency funds. We're saying we're going to put our agency funds toward these fundamental infrastructure and service costs so that when the EJs opt in, more of their funds can be used on the direct services. And right now, renter aid is only, the eligible uses are only emergency rental, flexible financial, and legal services. But as I mentioned before, we're building out the infrastructure to be able to accommodate other funding sources, other eligible uses. We really want this to be useful. I'll give an example in partnerships later. So Ronson had asked a little bit about our key partnerships right now. And the way that we are structured is, of course, the board of directors and our committees. We have Brown Act committees, we're not a county agency. We're a standalone special district. So we have our own board of directors, and those are electeds from across the county. Our eligible jurisdictions are our fundamental partners that we spend most of our energy really trying to serve the eligible jurisdictions, trying to work in partnership with them. This is our fundamental structure between the board, the committees, and the EJs. And then in partnership, we also have very good working relationships with the county departments, and we do see, we're committed to those partnerships. So for, aligning with HMAS is a good example. We want to, having access to data through the info hub, like really making sure that we're aligning with everything that is working out there in different ways. And I think we've also, because of our size already, I think we've also been helpful. I know South Bay is one of the examples where we were able to sort of move you guys to the front of the queue with some of the HMIS programs and stuff. So I think having another very well-resourced partner involved with BitFocus and HMIS is hopefully we can help advocate for the needs of the EJs within that data system as well. We partner very closely with DCBA. They administer the Stay Housed grant, but they're also at the table for all of these planning conversations. They helped fund the portal because they see a future in which the portal might be useful for some of their programs and funding sources. HSH we partner really closely with. We have some of the EJs have braided the use of the local solutions funds with the use of the La Casa funds. So that's good. If you guys are following countywide, there was just a motion at the county level to sort of determine what the prevention ecosystem is, which county department or agency has what role. So we're all working very closely together on that. And then the partnerships for rent trade are extremely critical here. So I mentioned the pilot program EJs, the opt-in EJs, which is a larger group than the pilot. Local jurisdictions also are coming out individually. Santa Monica is a great example. They have an ongoing source of prevention funding as well. And they've worked very hard to line it up with La Casa program guidelines and use of funds. And we're going to work there, we're helping them get into HMAS and use the program that we set up. So a lot of alignment there. And separate and apart from them being included in Westside COG, but they're also doing local work that they're really working to line up here. Ronson, you had mentioned the COC. Because we're not federally funded, we don't work that closly with the COC. We try to stay informed. Obviously, the biggest crossover is HMIS, but we're completely locally funded. So, but we're also trying to be responsive to the change in the federal funding landscape. We know that there's a lot, happening there. So the example about the temporary rental assistance was really trying to figure out a way that our PHP funds could support a problem, but we don't have enough funds to solve the problem of subsidies ending writ large in Los Angeles County. So really working hard to do our part where we can, but also staying true to this really precious opportunity that for those of you who've worked in prevention, ongoing sources of funding for prevention have never been a thing. It's always one-time funding or crisis funding, COVID rental relief, so it ebbs and flows historically. And so this opportunity in Los Angeles County to build a very consistent, reliable, not a stop and start prevention system is very unique. And so preserving that approach is very important to La Casa. So here are the rent trade partnerships, early indications. EJs are still working on their budgets right now. South Bay is always the first out of the gate. But early commitments to rent trade include gateway cities, Las Virgenes, City of Palmdale, City of Beverly Hills, City of Santa Clarita. And when we say full participation, these are jurisdictions who've said, we're going to leave our entire amount with you. And then you report to us on how the outcomes are being achieved in our jurisdictions. And then a la carte is a little bit more, tailored to the needs of each eligible jurisdiction. So City of Long Beach, South Bay, West Side City, Santa Monica, and unincorporated Los Angeles County. And so for Renter Aid, so when Renter Aid is stood up, what you're going to see is an accessible online portal. The staffing will be in place for all of those components, the renter outreach, the housing stability linkage team, the legal services, housing stabilization and relocation, and full reporting capabilities out to the public and to EJs who are opting in. We are working very, very hard with a large implementation team right now. Not as large as we need probably, but pretty well resourced for a soft launch between July and December. So we're working on all the contracts that will support this. Contracts will begin some starting, we were hopeful for July, but I think we're looking at July 31st to get contracts in place. Some of those services can start right away. Some are going to be really working together in this planning period between July and October. And that's just, I would call it less planning, more implementation preparation. So spending those 3 months with our contracted partners, like making sure everyone's trained up on the policies and procedures, has the shared approach to renter outreach, doing all the things to get ready for a soft launch in October. We have publicly said that the soft launch would be Gateway, Long Beach, and South Bay in October, but there is a scenario in which we launch countywide as well. So we're still evaluating the pros and cons of both of those things. And then full implementation, January through July. So that's folding in the various eligible jurisdictions as we gain the capacity to do it, and hope to have it fully launched with all opt-in jurisdictions by the end of next fiscal year. This fiscal year. And that's it. I'll stop and take any questions.
Great, thank you, Julie. Any questions for Julie? Just want to note that when they launch, when Renter Aid launches, there will be a number of front doors for the same money. So one front door is our sbrenterprotect.com, which is live right now, so people can go through that to get access to renter protection money. There's other front doors too. We're getting, Little Tokyo Service Center is also active in SPA 8. DCBA is another front door. So there's lots of different front doors for people, but for those of you on this call, just know that SB Renter Protect is the one that the COG is administering through St. Margaret Center, WLCAC. WLCAC is also a partner of La Casa directly too, and then Gardena is our direct city, one direct city that's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And as much as we're trying to streamline, the reality is that we, funded 13 eligible jurisdictions, and a lot of them have local programs that they want to continue operating. So, we can start by doing this grand partnership. And then I think a lot of the work is about making sure people know the various places to go, how to do seamless referrals or warm handoffs between our programs. I've talked with Mike, there's a lot of interest on the La Casa board as well as team to put some energy into Rent Aid being a good place to find out where to go for lots of things. I think that's going to be a Rent Aid 2.0. Really want to make sure that we're delivering our services very well before we start adding on more complexity to it. But very much committed to making the experience for households as, painless as possible in these times of crises.
Yeah, I just wanted to also announce too that if you're a provider on this call, the La Casa is taking RFIs, requests for interest, in the Renter Aid as a subcontractor. for the renter aid program. So if your organization is interested and you need information about that RFI, just let me know or let Julie know, and I can send it to you.
Thank you for that. So that would be for the renter outreach and the housing relocation stabilization.
Mhm.
I think also legal services. I can't remember.
Yeah. Any questions? Otherwise, that was a very thorough presentation, Julie. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. And again, I deeply appreciate the partnership with the team over at South Bay.
Oh, Jackie had a question.
And
Jackie.
is this the place that the actual legal expenses are controlled by policy? I mean, we're not making this decision. We have a mandate to use a certain amount of money.
Yes, so our program guidelines require that eligible jurisdictions, including La Casa, spend at least 40% of funds on emergency rental, flexible financial, and 20% of funds on legal. As I mentioned, South Bay so far has been one of the jurisdictions that, apart from that requirement, already wanted to invest more than 20% into legal services.
I just thought that should be clarified.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then our legal services, I mean, technically anyone can access the House LA right now, but we are using we're gonna go through Julie for the eviction prevention stuff. So that is going to be launched whenever, that was the dates on Julie's slide. Um, and then the other part of it I mentioned in the chat is our justice impacted programs. Those are going to be live July 1, but they're already active in our region. You can find them, the public defender and also the ticket clinic folks, the Heart team. They're at the homeless court and at various connect days around the South Bay already. Yeah. All right, great. Well, thank you, Julie. Appreciate you
Yep.
joining us. And
Great to meet
we have,
everybody.
yeah, great. Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. And now I want to go back to Grace. We'll probably skip since we had La Casa come on, we'll skip the La Casa analysis part of the agenda and go back to Grace. Some very important COC updates. I'm sure you guys are all aware of. Grace, you can just take it away.
Yes, and so a lot going on as I think I know the coalitions tried to put something out. With HUD's announcement about LASA, one of the things I want to make clear is that they're still talking about what this really means. So I don't know yet. For current programs, I don't think that funding should be stopped for that because I know letters were issued prior to the order. I know this because I was in meetings for agencies that are currently funded, but obviously you're hearing something different. So I would wait to see what transpires in the next 2 weeks, as I know there's been some legal issues. And for all of you, you probably heard that LASA HUD had announced to withhold funding due to audit concerns, other concerns. But in that action, there's been a whole flurry of we have the 2026 NOFO. There's an application out that's due end of, I think, pretty much close to end of August. There still, I believe there's going to be some legal issues involving LASA and HUD. And so as this continues to evolve, that is not going to stop the NOFO application process here in the LACOC. So just one thing that I think that's why you're probably going to start seeing continued issuances from LASA. We have an RFP out. There is an RFP out for new projects. So for those projects, that's really in the supportive services and outreach portion of the budget, which is about $5 million. I think that's the amount. So if you're interested, I know they're very much looking for new applicants. And so I know that that's something I talked to Ronson about. Perhaps that's something with the COG and outreach might be a possibility. in that NOFO application. So anybody that's interested in that, continue to apply. I don't think they're going to issue a new RFP out for current projects yet. The COC board is meeting, we are meeting next Thursday. So we will still be going through some of our work. I will continue to monitor what's going on and send out updates to folks as I hear them, because I know that things are transpiring even with the LASA Commission, and how the county might respond. I think one of the things to keep in mind, I've gotten a lot of calls, well, should we do something? Well, I think we need to allow LASA, the city and the county to work out whatever they're working out. Because when you involve legal issues, there's county council, there's city council. So again, a lot of meetings have occurred, but we don't have a lot of details. But I would not expect that LA is not going to try to apply for the NOFO that's coming. So I don't know if that helps, but hopefully things will get better answers in the next, several weeks. But that's the latest with that. And I don't know if there were questions. I know I've been in a lot of meetings involving this, but any questions?
So for our cities, Torrance and Redondo, and Hawthorne,
Mhm.
you guys have shelters and you pay for all or some of your case management work. You may want to submit for the LASA NOFO, knowing that the federal government has kind of told them they won't be funding them. But if LASA is submitting it anyways, we may want to get in on that and go after both the shelter money and the supportive service money.
Yeah, I would encourage, Ron Senior, I would encourage, I mean, they're looking for new quote unquote providers or agencies. That's some of what the HUD language is,
Mhm.
and just apply. And for those of you that think that you can also um, support employment types of situations where there are work requirements, these are some of the things that are being challenged right now. There's some work requirements. I think it's about 20 hours a week for those that are receiving homeless services, and they're looking for that. They're looking for um, a greater involvement or connection with law enforcement. So that's something that I feel that the COG itself and the cities within the COG you already have relationships with your law enforcement entities. I don't know how the details, but that's something to think about as you're applying. Or would it be, and something to explore with the COG, would it be useful for the COG to apply on behalf of some of the cities? I don't know. That's up to
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
no, that's a good point. Morelli, we should talk about that too. Maybe we can calendar some time to talk about it where we apply for the very first time for the
Yeah.
COC funds. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I should have more information this coming week. So
Hmm.
next week, I'm sorry, early next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we have our federal folks on here, but it's just there's a lot going on. I know there's lots of meetings going on with different folks, and just trying to wrap our heads around, how is the COC going to respond? How's the county going to respond? How's the city? All of that is still being developed.
I know Clifton's on. Clifton, do you have any inside baseball on how the HSH is dealing with the COC issue?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not really much to report on our end. All I can say is that leadership is really trying to understand the scope and the implications of all of this. I imagine in the next upcoming weeks we'll be able to kind of update folks on how this might affect our different divisions and what have you.
Okay. Um, since you're on, do you want to go ahead and give your updates?
Yeah, I'll be real brief. Thanks to your team for being able to get that binding signature for us. I know we had to kind of update the language. And this is in regards to the LSF contract amendment for fiscal year 26, 27. We should be providing that signature, I'm hoping by the end of this week. So by next week, we can have a fully, executed contract before July 1st. So I know it was very important for us to kind of get this across the finish line. So I'm happy to see where we're at with things.
Yeah, thank you so much, Clifton. Just want to let you know we had the goddess on. You're the god of county contracts because that has never happened before, where we got a contract done before July 1. So you broke all sorts of world records. So yeah, just
Thank
in
you
time
so
total.
much. Thank you
No,
from us.
Yeah,
no, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry I can't be on. I'm in the field, but thank you.
yeah. All right. So then going back to the agenda items, calling for any legislative updates from Janet or Moises. Janet, you want to go first?
Hello. Well, as you said, this whole thing is a moving target. And I do know that our legislative team is following it closely. Congressman Liu isn't on the committees that would create legislation, but different things are being proposed and looked at to see if there's any way to counter this. We're still waiting to hear what the final budget for the next fiscal year proposes for homelessness and that sort. So as soon as I have something definite, I will make sure I send it to you, Ronson, if it's before the next meeting.
Great. Thank you, Janet. And Moises, any updates on your end from Assemblymember Gibson? Moises, you on? Okay, maybe he's taking a break. Then we'll just move on then to Jackie with any COG updates. Oh, Lori, did you have a question?
No, I had a legislative item.
Oh,
Okay. I realize this is hi everybody. I realize this is LA City, but the federal government is trying to eliminate housing assistance for transgender people. It's discrimination at its most gross. And so there is an LA City Council file 26-0002-S22. And all three neighborhood councils in San Pedro are weighing in and supporting. This is a file to oppose this type of action. So if anybody would be interested, just wanted to share that. Thank you.
okay, thanks, Lori.
Hey, it's Janet. Lori, can you send me a copy of that?
You betcha.
Okay,
Bronson?
yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, the COG is working very hard on a couple of different things, but one has to do with a more sensible approach to housing. And we're not saying we're against it, but we're saying that the way the state is doing it is not really going to achieve the purpose of really getting affordable housing. So we're working with other like-minded people to see if we can get that message out that there are no such thing as NIMBYs. There are people that have real concerns that should be addressed. That's one thing we're doing. The other thing is we have legislation for our trust that we're supporting SB 799. The legislation is looking more and more it's going to pass, but it's looking more problematic as to whether it's going to actually achieve anything because the state keeps putting in barriers to us actually workforce housing, the ability to put in workforce housing, and they're saying that we can't use state money or public money to do that. We can only use private money, even though there is public money to do that. So we're just learning a lot about the legislative process and how it really doesn't have anything to do with the goals of the legislature. The trust, this is a trust report, really. The trust just at the last meeting was able to give a $6 million loan to the city of Hawthorne for 93 affordable units, which will, if they can get the rest of the financing, it's a $75 million project. We gave them $6 million. They've got $7 million from the city, so they're a little far away from what they need. But when they get what they need, if they can get it, they will be able to build these 93 units in Hawthorne and have and it would be start construction in November of 2027. Tomorrow's meeting of the trust will be the third meeting. We're hoping somebody, I see Roberto there, so I'm just going to say something about the fact that we're hoping to have somebody from Inglewood there because unfortunately Inglewood has missed our first two meetings. But we are going to be discussing, it's a really important meeting because we're going to be discussing actually brainstorming as to what the priorities should be of all the programs that the trust might be able to do. What should we be focusing on in the South Bay for our first year? Because we can't do everything. So that's where we are with the trust. The meeting's tomorrow at 3:30. It's a Brown Act meeting and it does stream. So if you want to watch it, please consult the web. There is a website, South Bay Regional Housing Trust, and I think we also have the information on our own website. I don't know, is there something else that's going on at the COG that we should report?
Grace, don't we have a Connect Day in Hawthorne coming up?
Oh, yes, July 18th.
Yes, July 18th.
Yes, July
You're
18th.
right. I did not forget to. I just was about to put it in the chat because I didn't know if we had time. But yes, thank you. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Many of you know we've been scheduling Connect Days. We had our first one back in, I believe, May or April. Sorry, it's been a day. But our next one is focused on families and youth in the city of Hawthorne Memorial Center Sports Complex. So thank you, Dulce. I think I've seen or spoken to Dulce every day this week. And so we have been working together on this. It's going well. We are, of course, if you've already heard, we are recruiting resource vendors, and I know Nancy Wilcox is handling that for us. But if you're interested, please sign up and let us know that you want to do that. If you want to just be involved, we are trying to get volunteers again for that day because we're focused on families at risk. Because I know we had talked about targeting families at risk, families who are unhoused, and then our youth who are unhoused. That's the population we're serving. So you're going to see quite of a different approach to it. I know we're giving out raffle prizes. We're trying to have activities for the kids and the youth and provide as much services as we can. So again, if you're able to come out and support, but also refer clients to us, that would be great. If you could give out the flyer, what we are doing is we have a raffle for people who register. We have about 3 to 5 prizes. 3 of which are cash, not cash, sorry. No, not cash, but a gift card of some kind. So we're trying to encourage people. I know I got in trouble one day for giving out cash. This was like 12 years ago. It had nothing to do with homelessness, and a raffle. But if you could give them the flyer and have them sign up, that would be great. We're trying to collect information as they come in so that we know who's coming and what their needs might be. So I don't know if there are any questions or I want to thank the COG. I want to thank the City of Hawthorne, Sanctuary of Hope, Harbor Interfaith. We've been working together and we have someone with lived experience who's been helping us for the past 2 months already on this effort.
And thank you, Grace. So much good information and for organizing this. Thank you for organizing this and also all the COC updates you're able to provide us. This has been fabulous. So thank you so much. All right. So I think what else do we got on our agenda? I think that's it. So just opening this up to the rest of anyone else have any updates to share with the task force? All right. Paul, you have anything on the mental health front? Or Lori, you got an update?
I don't know so much as an update, but many of you know about the Fred Brown Serenity Recovery Center being proposed to be at the site where the Little Sisters of the Poor have been in San Pedro. And there is a strong, sorry, Jackie, NIMBY group out there that is opposing this for reasons that are not even based on fact. And unfortunately, even Councilmember McCosker is against this. However, Congresswoman Barragon, Supervisor Hahn, and many of us support this program. If you're interested, you can go to Fred Brown Recovery Services. They've had managed over 25 sober living houses in San Pedro for over 40 years. And we have a need for more recovery centers. And so any support you could provide would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Grace.
Yeah, real quick about the coalition. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, July 22nd from 1 to 3:30. Flyer is not out yet, or location is probably going to be in the Harbor Gateway. And so I'm trying to secure that, and it is in person. And I believe we have two supervisor offices presenting, Horvath and Holly Mitchell's office. So we'll keep that agenda fluid for now, but because I'm trying to secure some things, but the date and time is pretty much fixed.
What time was it again?
1 to 3:30, July 22nd.
Thanks.
It's not on your La Casa days. I know that, right, Ron? I try to make sure it's not on the days that you're meeting with La Casa.
Yeah, no, we should be good.
Okay.
The Casa days are usually the second week. Yeah. That's actually La Casa week. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on our June meeting. So we are adjourned. Our next meeting will be with the coalition on July 22nd. So stay tuned for more on that agenda, as Grace mentioned. So thank you everyone. Have a good rest of your week, and yeah, enjoy Father's Day.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Fathers.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.